You call that a weapon? My kid brother's toy could do more damage. The Zarthan commander, a towering figure with scales glistening under the harsh light of Earth's twin suns, sneered at the human soldier standing defiantly before him. His contingent of warriors erupted in mocking laughter, their guttural tones reverberating through the charred ruins of New York City. Sergeant Jim Carson stood his ground, gripping the handle of a weapon that, by Zarthan standards, was nothing more than a relic. To them, human firearms were laughably primitive, akin to the sticks and stones of a forgotten age. They couldn't have been more wrong. The war had begun only months earlier. A sudden and devastating invasion by the Zarthan Empire. Humanity, caught off guard and vastly outmatched by the invaders' advanced technology, had suffered catastrophic losses. Entire cities were razed, and billions perished in the initial onslaught. The Zarthan's plasma weapons, capable of vaporizing tanks and buildings alike, made quick work of Earth's defenses. But humans are nothing if not resilient. As the Zarthans pushed deeper into Earth's territories, a resistance formed, utilizing guerrilla tactics and the one thing the aliens underestimated: human ingenuity. Jim glanced at his comrades, a ragtag group of survivors and soldiers who had seen too much death and destruction. Each man held a similar weapon, an assault rifle designed decades ago. Outdated? Yes, but with a surprise the Zarthans couldn't foresee. You got a last request, human? The commander sneered, his reptilian eyes narrowing. Yeah, Jim replied, a grim smile playing on his lips. Laugh it up while you can. With that, he pulled the trigger. The rifle roared to life, expelling not bullets, but a concentrated beam of energy. The Zarthan commander's eyes widened in shock as the beam tore through his armor, cutting him down where he stood. The laughter died instantly, replaced by cries of confusion and fear. The secret was simple yet brilliant. Earth scientists had managed to reverse engineer the alien plasma technology, adapting it to fit human weapons. The result was a hybrid firearm that looked deceptively archaic but packed a punch strong enough to pierce even the Zarthans' formidable defenses. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Jim and his squad moved with practiced precision, their modified rifles cutting through the alien ranks. The Zarthans, unprepared for the sudden shift in power, faltered. Their technological arrogance had left them vulnerable, and now they paid the price. Move! Secure the perimeter! Jim barked, his voice carrying over the din of battle. His men responded instantly, fanning out and taking up defensive positions. The Zarthans, disoriented and leaderless, fell back. Their once unstoppable advance now turned into a frantic retreat. Jim crouched behind a fallen piece of rubble, reloading his weapon. He stole a glance at the horizon, where the silhouette of an alien dropship loomed ominously. Reinforcements were on the way, but they still had time. They had to make every second count. Captain Rodriguez, status report. Jim called into his radio. Perimeter secure. Sergeant, we've taken out most of their heavy units. What's our next move? Came the reply. Jim considered their options. They had the element of surprise, but that wouldn't last. The Zarthans would adapt quickly, and their numerical superiority was still a significant threat. Regroup at the central plaza, Jim ordered. We need to hold this position until command can send reinforcements, and keep an eye on that dropship. It's bound to be trouble. As his men moved to comply, Jim allowed himself a moment of reflection. They had achieved a small victory, but the war was far from over. The Zarthans were ruthless and relentless, and humanity's survival depended on more than just clever tricks and modified weapons. Sergeant, a voice called, snapping him back to reality. It was Private Jenkins, a young recruit with a perpetually nervous expression. We've got movement on the east flank. Looks like a scouting party. Jim nodded. All right, Jenkins, you and Harris take point. We'll cover you. The two soldiers moved out, their movements careful and deliberate. Jim watched them go, a mixture of pride and concern filling his chest. They were good men, brave and resourceful, but bravery alone wouldn't win this war. He turned his attention back to the battlefield, scanning for any signs of the enemy. The Zarthans were regrouping, their disciplined ranks forming up for another assault. Jim knew they wouldn't give up easily. They would come back stronger and more determined. Steady, boys, he muttered, tightening his grip on his rifle. Let's show them what humans are made of. As the Zarthans began their advance, Jim felt a surge of determination. They had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. They would do it again, for Earth, for Huma, and vanity for the fallen. The first wave of Zarthans charged, their plasma rifles blazing. Jim and his squad met them with a hail of energy beams, cutting down the attackers with ruthless efficiency. The battle was far from over, but with every alien that fell, their chances of survival grew. Jim knew they couldn't hold out forever, but for now, they had the upper hand, and that was enough. For now, they would fight, and they would win, because they had to, because there was no other choice. "Give them hell, boys!" Jim shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony of war. "This is our planet, and we're not going down without a fight." The battle raged on, but amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope shone through. Humanity had found a way to fight back, to turn the tide against their oppressors. And as long as they had that, they had a chance to win, a chance to survive. The Zarthan dropship landed with a resounding thud, its massive bulk sinking into the rubble-strewn ground. The alien reinforcements disembarked swiftly, their formation precise and intimidating. Jim watched from his vantage point, his mind racing. They needed to buy time, keep the aliens off balance until their own reinforcements arrived. "Rodriguez, get your men ready," Jim ordered. "We need to hit that dropship before they can get their bearings. If we can take out their command unit, it'll throw them into disarray." "Roger that, Sergeant," Rodriguez replied, signaling his squad. "We're on it." Jim motioned to Jenkins and Harris. "You two cover the left flank. Keep their snipers off our backs. The rest of you, with me. We're going straight for their landing zone." The squad moved out, slipping through the shattered remnants of what was once a bustling metropolis. The air was thick with the acrid stench of smoke and the metallic tang of blood. Every step was a reminder of what they were fighting for. As they approached the dropship, the ground shook with the force of explosions. Jim's squad opened fire, their modified rifles unleashing deadly beams of energy. The Zarthans, caught off guard, scrambled to return fire. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, narrowly missing their targets. "Keep pushing forward," Jim shouted, his voice barely audible over the din of battle. "We need to get closer." Rodriguez and his men advanced with fierce determination, their weapons blazing. They focused their fire on the dropship's landing gear, hoping to disable it and trap the reinforcements inside. The alien metal, though resilient, began to buckle under the sustained assault. "Sergeant, we've got a problem," Jenkins yelled, his voice tinged with panic. "Snipers on the rooftops, 2 o'clock. Jim turned just in time to see a bright flash from a nearby building. He dove to the ground, narrowly avoiding the plasma bolt that seared the air where he'd been standing. "Harris, take them out. Jenkins, keep their infantry pinned down." The squad split their focus, engaging the snipers while continuing their assault on the dropship. Jim's heart pounded in his chest. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they couldn't afford to lose this position. Harris, a sharpshooter with nerves of steel, took aim at the alien snipers. One by one, he picked them off, his precision and calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around him. With the immediate threat neutralized, Jim refocused on the dropship. "Rodriguez, now, hit it with everything you've got," Jim commanded. Rodriguez and his men unleashed a torrent of energy beams at the dropship's exposed underbelly. The concentrated firepower finally paid off. With a deafening roar, the landing gear gave way, and the massive vessel tilted precariously to one side. The Zarthan reinforcements inside were thrown into disarray, their disciplined ranks collapsing into chaos. "Fall back," the alien commander barked, his voice laced with frustration and anger. "Not so fast," Jim muttered. "Press the attack. Don't let them regroup." With renewed vigor, Jim's squad surged forward. The aliens, now leaderless and disorganized, fell back under the relentless human assault. Plasma rifles clattered to the ground as Zarthans were cut down or forced into a hasty retreat. In the midst of the fray, Jim spotted the alien commander, a hulking figure, attempting to rally his troops. Determined to end this fight decisively, Jim charged forward, his rifle trained on the target. The commander saw him coming and raised his weapon, but Jim was faster. A single, well-aimed shot pierced the commander's chest, sending him sprawling to the ground. "That's for New York," Jim muttered, standing over the fallen alien. He turned to his men, who were finishing off the last of the resistance. "Secure the dropship. We need to gather any intel we can find." The squad moved quickly, sweeping through the wreckage and collecting anything that might be useful. Jim's thoughts turned to the future. This victory was significant, but it was only a small part of a much larger war. They needed to keep pushing, keep fighting if they were to have any hope of winning. "Sergeant Carson, we've got something here," Jenkins called, holding up a datapad he had retrieved from the dropship. Jim took the device and scanned its contents. It was a treasure trove of information: maps, troop movements, and communication logs. This could be the breakthrough they needed. "Good work, Jenkins. This could change everything," Jim said, feeling a flicker of hope. "Let's get this back to command. We've got a lot of work to do." As they prepared to move out, Jim allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. The Zarthans were relentless, and there would be more fights, more losses. But humanity had proven that they could stand their ground, that they could fight back against even the most formidable of foes. "All right, men, let's move out. We've got a planet to save," Jim said, his voice steady and resolute. The squad formed up, their spirits bolstered by the hard-won victory they had faced. They had emerged victorious. Now it was time to take the fight to the Zarthans, to show them that humanity would not be conquered so easily. As they marched back towards their base, the burning city a stark backdrop to their resolve, Jim knew one thing for certain. The Zarthans had made a grave mistake in underestimating humanity, and they were going to regret it. Jim and his squad made their way back to the underground resistance base, hidden beneath the ruins of what was once a vibrant city. The base was a hive of activity, scientists and engineers working tirelessly, reverse engineering alien technology and devising new strategies to fight the Zarthan invaders. The air was thick with the scent of sweat and determination. "Command, this is Sergeant Carson," Jim said into his radio as they approached the entrance. "We've secured valuable intel from a downed dropship, requesting immediate debrief." "Roger that. Sergeant, proceed to the war room. Command out." Jim and his men were greeted with nods and salutes as they made their way to the heart of the base. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Every piece of intel, every small victory, brought them one step closer to turning the tide of the war. In the war room, a group of high-ranking officers and scientists pored over maps and data. General Thompson, a grizzled veteran with a stern demeanor, looked up as Jim entered. "Sergeant Carson, good to see you. What have you got for us?" the general asked. Jim handed over the datapad. "This has detailed maps of Zarthan troop movements and their communication logs." "It's a gold mine, sir." Thompson's eyes widened as he scanned the contents. "This is incredible. If we move quickly, we can launch a coordinated strike on their key positions. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." The room buzzed with excitement as plans were hastily drawn up. Jim felt a surge of pride. They had fought hard for this moment, and now they had a real chance to strike a decisive blow against the invaders. "All right, listen up," Thompson said, addressing the room. "We'll launch a three-pronged attack on their main bases. Carson, your squad will lead the assault on their central command. We need to hit them hard and fast before they have a chance to regroup." "Yes, sir," Jim replied, determination etched into his features. "We'll get it done." The following hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Weapons were checked and rechecked, and every soldier knew the stakes. This was their moment, their chance to show the Zarthans what humanity was capable of. As dawn broke, Jim and his squad moved out, their spirits high. The resistance had gathered every available fighter for this assault. It was all or nothing. They approached the central Zarthan base under the cover of darkness. Jim's heart pounded in his chest as they got into position. He signaled his men to hold. The element of surprise was crucial. "On my mark," Jim whispered into his radio. 3, 2, 1, mark. The night erupted in a blaze of light and sound. Human fighters stormed the base, their modified rifles cutting through the alien defenses. The Zarthans, taken off guard, scrambled to mount a defense. Jim's squad moved with precision, advancing through the chaos. They fought their way to the command center, the heart of the alien operations. Plasma beams and energy beams crisscrossed the battlefield, but Jim and his men pressed on. "Almost there," Rodriguez shouted, firing at a group of Zarthans who were trying to flank them. The command center loomed ahead, a fortified structure bristling with alien technology. Jim knew that taking it out would cripple the Zarthans' ability to coordinate their forces. "Cover me," Jim yelled, charging forward. He planted explosive charges on the door, then dove foe. Our cover as the entrance blew open. The squad poured into the command center, their rifles blazing. The Zarthan officers inside barely had time to react before they were cut down. Jim made his way to the central console, planting another set of charges. "Fall back," he ordered. The squad retreated just as the charges detonated, the explosion ripping through the command center. Outside, the battle raged on, but the destruction of the command center was the turning point. The Zarthan forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to falter. Human forces pressed the advantage, driving the aliens back. As the sun rose, the battlefield fell silent. The Zarthan base lay in ruins, and their forces were in full retreat. Cheers erupted from the human fighters as they realized the magnitude of their victory. Jim stood amidst the wreckage, exhaustion and relief washing over him. They had done it. They had struck a major blow against the invaders. "Sergeant Carson, this is command," came the voice over his radio. "Outstanding work. We've received reports that the other assaults were also successful. The Zarthans are in full retreat." "Thank you, sir," Jim replied, a small smile breaking through his tired expression. "But this is just the beginning. We've still got a long way to go." "Understood, Sergeant. But today, you've given humanity hope." "Well done." Jim looked at his men, their faces a mix of relief and determination. They had won a great victory, but they all knew the war was far from over. Still, for the first time since the invasion began, there was a glimmer of hope. "All right, boys," Jim said, his voice steady. "Let's head back. We've got a planet to save." And with that, they began the long march back to base, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For humanity, for Earth, for the future.